since you born. Then you live and die. So if tomorrow never comes, it comes at no surprise. Looking death into his eyes, yeah, I witness guys start to recognize, analyze their own demise. Some people wasting time, walking around hypnotized, blinded by success, impressed but can't identify what's real with fake because the money just intensify. Jealousy plus the hate that equals genocide.
Hey, what's up? We're back. I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Life on Diagonal. I am your host, EJ Briz. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful, wonderful life, having fun. The weather is finally breaking, starting to get warm outside, sun coming out. We had a few days without rain, so that's always excellent when the sun is shining. You can wear your short sleeve shirts and everything. This is one of my old shirts I designed. Benefit to society. It's a play off of menace to society, but instead of being a menace, you have to be a benefit to society. Um, yeah. So yesterday was Mother's Day. It's my first. It was me. I don't want to say celebrating. I guess you could say celebrating. Um, but it was my first Mother's Day without my mother, and honestly, I thought I was gonna kind of be sad throughout the day. I mean, I had a moment, but other than that, I had a pretty good day. Spent some time with my son, and I was in real good spirits. So I'm really surprised about that. I think I kind of told myself, if I have a moment or moments, that's fine, but I'm not gonna um just stay in the moment, um, whatnot. So with this episode, it's kind of playing off of Mother's Day. Um, yes, it's another episode about my father. I really didn't plan this episode to be about my father. But it kind of ties into Mother's Day. And when I had the idea, I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk about my father and Mother's Day. And before I decided I was gonna film this, well, not before, but when I decided I was gonna film this episode, I had a conversation with my siblings. So it kind of turned uh it kind of turned the episode, what I was going to talk about. It kind of switched it up on me. um so I'm gonna start this episode off talking about my father. If you haven't watched the last episode when I was talking about my dad, go ahead. um it's not that far back. um so before I start this episode talking about my dad and what I was going to originally talk about, I don't want to make it seem like I'm ungrateful for my father. My father taught me a lot of positive things: how to manage money, how to work hard, how to be on time, how to be punctual, respect for others, people's property, stuff like that. So I don't want to make it seem like when I talk about my issues with my father, I don't want to make it seem like I'm completely right because I'm just talking. That's and not just with my father. That's with anything I'm talking about on this channel. I am talking about it from my perspective and my point of view. And I know everybody has their own perspective and they have their own point of view. So when I talk about things, I don't want to come across as I'm right. I'm always right. It's the end all be all. I'm talking about things from my perspective and how I experience things. So just want to get that out there. And then when I talk about my father, I don't want to always make it seem like it's negative because um, there were, a lot of positive things in my life, dealing with my father, growing up with my father, and it wasn't all negative, but the negative outweighs the positive, especially as I have gotten older and I have became a father myself. and I see the differences, and it's crazy because um a lot of things I do with my son is at the age where he's inquisitive, and he asked me questions about my childhood. I guess he's trying to compare my childhood to how his childhood is. And there's a lot of things that my son ask me about my childhood and some of the things I do with him, for him. And he asked me, did my father do the same thing? And a lot of times it's no. And my son is kind of puzzled by it and doesn't understand because um he only sees his childhood. And with kids, they kind of take things at face value sometimes, and they expect all parents to be how they parents are. And as he is getting older, I'm having more adult conversations with him, and letting him know that you're about to enter the real world, and you're not about to be as sheltered as you are. And there is a lot of things that you need to know. There is a lot of growing that will happen. And so I make sure I have those conversations with my son. So what I was going to originally talk about when it comes to my father is, if you watched the last episode, me and my father, we have a strained relationship. We've always had a strained relationship, and something happened right after my mom passed away. I'm not going to put my father's business out there, but it was a situation that happened. And you know um I'm one of them type of person. I always believe a person should live their life how they want to live it, do what they want to do, how they want to do. um there's I mean, who am I to judge and um tell you what not to do? So I grew up in the church. My father, he's really into the church, and this is just my opinion. I feel at times when people are really deep in the church and you're not deep in the church as them, it's like your word um doesn't carry as much weight as other people's word does, that's in the church. They kind of, I feel like, and I'm not trying to put all people that's in the church in one category, but I feel like, especially like my father, he's like that old school um church type. And I feel like it was something that he did, and I was support him, but he felt that he decided to do this, and he wanted me to be a part of what he was doing, but he just wanted me to go along with it and not ask any questions. And I'm like, I'm a grown man, and I feel like I can't go along with something and not ask any questions. It just didn't seem right to me. And so it was a back and forth between me and my father, and um he kind of was throwing shots at certain things that happened in my life. And I let him have a few of them because he's my father, and I didn't want to disrespect him, didn't want to argue with him. My mom just passed. I didn't want to go there with him with that. But it just got to the point where he just kept doing it and kept doing it. And I'm like, are we gonna have a real conversation? Because if you want to talk about the things that I've done, let's talk about the things that you've done. And what I've done is nearly as bad or come close to the things that you have done when it came to my mom. So then when people have to start taking responsibility and reflecting on their wrongs, that's when they want to run and get off the phone. And that is what strains our relationship as of right now. Me and my father, we always have a strain. We get into it, um and then after we get into it, we kind of reconnect. But when we reconnect, it is always on my accord. I'm always the one reaching out and doing the reconnect. Um, and it's crazy because I feel, you're the parent. We should be able to meet 50-50. It shouldn't be always me reaching out and trying to reestablish this relationship. So, Mother's Day was yesterday, just passed, and so not only was my mother on my mind, with me losing my mom, but also my father was on my mind as well. And a lot of people say I'm mean, which I guess I can be at times. I don't know. I just think that I'm a realist, and I just tell people how I feel and how it is. But on the same note, I am an empath. So for people that I care about, I love, I don't like to see them suffer or even think about them suffering, having issues, having problems, whatever. It bothers me. So the whole time while Mother's Day was going on, and I'm thinking about my mom not being here. I'm also thinking about my father and like what my father is going through without my mom being here. So that's on my mind. So not only just yesterday, but today, I'm thinking about the situation that happened between me and my father and our relationship, and I'm feeling bad. I'm like, um, am I wrong for disassociating myself with my father, due to what happened, and am I being selfish? Um, and it's like, well, I'm kind of like battling myself because it's like, well, on one hand, I understand that you're tired of going through this situation with your father and dealing with this situation with your father, but that's still your father. um I think at times, I don't want to say all parents do this, but I know of some parents that do this. No matter your age, they feel like, well, they're the parent and what they say goes. And I'm even learning with my son, um, as my son is growing up, becoming a young adult, a young man, and then, becoming an adult, you have to treat your kids as such. I understand that you are a parent, but sometimes you need to rein that back and realize that, okay, yeah, this is your child, but they are an adult as well. They're paying bills, they're raising kids, they have a job, just like how you had. And that's one of the many disconnects that me and my father have, is because I'm a grown man in my 40s. I hate to put my age out there, but I'm in my 40s, and it's like, you can't treat me like I'm a teenager. You can't talk to me like I'm a teenager. You can't say some of the things that you used to say to me or react how you used to react to me, um like I'm a teenager, and it's like I'm a grown man. And the same respect I give you, I expect the same in return. And I remember there was an instance one time when me and my father fell out over my sister's house during the cookout. And I'm not gonna get in depth into the story, but me and my father got into an argument over the weirdest thing. Like, we got into an argument because we were at a cookout, and he was mad because um I wasn't eating any macaroni and cheese. Okay. No, we got into an argument over that because if you know me, I work out, health conscious. I like to eat healthy majority of the time, not all the time. Um, but at the time I was on a diet, and my mom asked me, was I eating any macaroni and cheese? 'Cause I love my mom's macaroni and cheese, but I was like, no, I'm not eating no macaroni and cheese. And my dad chimed in like, well, why you not eating any macaroni and cheese? You grew up on this, and I'm telling my father like I'm on a diet and all this stuff, and he was like, well, you know, um, you so health conscious or whatever, and you don't know what putting in your body and all this other stuff when you putting all that healthy stuff in your body. And I'm thinking, looking at my dad like, what? So I'm telling my dad like I do research and everything, and he was like, well, why are you always walking around here injured? Um, I've injured my back numerous times, and anybody know if you injure your lower back, your lower back really doesn't heal up or whatever. So my dad, I have a physical job, do a lot of physical things. My lower back is always injured. And he was like, well, you doing all that working out and eating all healthy and everything, and you're still hurting and everything. So, I'm not like my dad throwing shots at me and everything. So I got tired, my dad. And like, mind you, we had a cookout over my sister's house. Not only is like our family there, but like my sister's friends there, her in-laws are there. Like, and like my dad is loud and showing off in front of these people. And to make the long story short, me and my dad going back and forth, and I could see the situation was going to escalate. So I told my mom, I said, Mom, I said, I'm about to, go. You know, hey, let my dad, hey, you can have it. You know what I'm saying? So my family members, like even my family members was looking like, what is up with him and everything. So I get up to leave. I'm leaving and everything. And so at the time I had a house built and my dad let me use one of his ladders and everything. So mind you, I'm leaving after me and my dad had this back and forth. And so walking down the patio steps and my dad yells out like, yeah, and I'm coming to get my ladder, so you better have my ladder when I come get there. And so that's when I just had to say something. I'm like, dude, I'm like, hold on. And I said something to my father, and I was like, dude, I'm like, if you think that you're gonna talk to me this kind of way in front of all these people, whatever, I said, you got me mistaken. And I told my father, I said, if you come up to my house on my property and think that you're gonna take anything from my house, I say that's where you're gonna be left at. And I left it at that. I left. But this is the type of stuff that goes on between me and my father initiates it all the time. And it bothers me because I don't know if my father has some type of personal issue with me because we butt heads and I just don't let him, just run over me. And it gets to a point where I let my dad, um, I guess my father, I'm being respectful to my father. And I just let my dad go on these tangents sometimes until he just takes it to the point where it's like, okay, I have to say something because you're just not gonna keep disrespecting me, even if I'm your child or not. So we always had this volatile relationship. So even though Mother's Day is going on, I'm like, I'm feeling bad for my dad. Even though I've been through all these situations with my father and dealing with all this stuff with my dad, it's like, man, I'm thinking about my dad, like, man, um, how's my dad doing? How's my dad feeling? Am I wrong for cutting off my relationship with my father? He hasn't seen my son. Am I wrong for my son not having a relationship with my father? Now I live 30 minutes away from my father, and majority of the time when my dad would see my son is me bringing my son there. It's like my dad would drive and go here and go there and everywhere, but he won't drive the 30 minutes to come see his grandson. And I got to the point where it's like, hey, if you want to have a relationship with your grandson, it is not just my responsibility to make sure you have a relationship with your grandson. Um, it, it- and I think another reason why I've been, you know, keeping my son away from my father as well is because now my son is starting to see things, and it's like I can't cover things up anymore. Like my father doing stuff for other people and my nephews, but when my son's birthday come around, like my son isn't getting gifts, and I am so glad and so blessed that on my son's mother's side that they, from his grandmother, grandfather to his aunties and uncles on his mother's side, I'm just so glad that they are always there reaching out and able to do for him. So I'm glad, he has that. Um, but my son starts to see this type of stuff. So, and he asked me questions like, well, why does my grandfather on my mom's side do this, but my grandfather on my, so it's just, it just bothers me. And so, like I said, the whole time I'm just beating myself up, like, do I need to reach out to my father again, in order for me to feel better about this situation and not feel like I'm abandoning my father, because it feels terrible for you to lose a parent and then have a parent that's living, but you can't have a relationship with that parent because it's always turmoil going on between you and that parent. And so, I'm feeling bad and everything. I reach out to my siblings, ask them have they talked to my father, and then I'm not gonna say what was, but talked to when I was talking to my siblings, I found out that my dad is out living his life, having fun, and you know I'll leave it at that because I don't want to put all his business out there. Especially for you know, for him to be a church person and to have all these Bible principles when it comes to us and everybody else, but he's not going by these Bible principles. But hey, that's how he chooses to live his life. That's fine. Um, so now after I talk to my siblings, now I'm feeling dumb. I'm feeling stupid, and I'm feeling like, man, this whole time I'm feeling bad for him or whatever. And he running the streets and doing this and doing that, going state to state, and like you could travel state to state and everything to go do this, to go see other people, but then when it comes to reaching out to your son or reaching out to your grandson or whatever, it's nothing. I know me, I can't speak on how everybody else live life and how everybody else do, but I know if if I put myself in that position with my son and his grandson and my grandson, I know that that I would exhaust every possibility in order for me to try to build a relationship with them and leave it on them. So I'm just looking at the situation different. So it's just with this situation with my father, and I don't want to make every episode about my father, and every episode won't be about my father. This is just something that I just felt like I needed to talk about, especially after Mother's Day, because like I said, I was feeling bad. I was feeling, I had regret. I'm like, man, am I wrong? I'm like, man, I was feeling like a terrible person, and then come to find out, it's like after I talked to my siblings, like, hey, everything cool with him. So, so I went from feeling like that to feeling stupid to feeling like, man, I'm wasting my time worrying about this stuff, and he ain't even worrying about me bragging about what he doing with my other siblings and all this other stuff. So I guess he's doing good. So um, it's like, what? did I learn, or what am I learning from this situation? I guess that I'm learning that I have to continue to put myself and my feelings first, no matter how drastic how drastic the situation may be. That's what I'm learning, that I still have to, continue to put myself first and stop being a people pleaser, because I notice that when I'm a people pleaser, that I am unhappy because I'm putting everybody else first, and then all my feelings and emotions are put on a back burner. So I'm learning that I have to keep putting myself first, no matter how bad I may feel, or um, how bad the situation may be. What can I do better with the situation? I guess what I can do better with this situation is continue to give my father grace. Um, Continue to realize that, even though he's in the church, that he's not perfect, and hopefully he comes around and see that he's not the victim in this situation. um a lot of times when we go through situations, we like to look at ourselves as the victim, and everybody else is just tripping. And honestly, I did, when my mom passed away and it came to my father, I did everything that I was supposed to do, even with our bad relationship. I did everything as a son I was supposed to do. And there was a choice of decisions that he's made, that other people, that my siblings wasn't with, but I was still willing to support him because that's my father. That's how he wanted to live his life. That's what he wanted to do. And he strained that when he basically told me that if that he wanted me to be a part of something that I couldn't ask any questions about. And when I told him, like, nah, that's not gonna fly, then he just went off on a tangent, started throwing shots at me like he normally do. So um I guess what I can do better, like I said, is to continue to give my father grace, and hopefully things come around, because we never know when we are gonna go. I don't know when my father's gonna go. I don't know when I'm gonna go. But hopefully, even through all the pain and all the strained relationship, hopefully me and my father could get this situation rectified for both of us. So I'd like to thank y'all for sitting here and listen to me vent to y'all on another episode of Life on Diagonal. I have more episodes coming. I'm going to try to um record more often. I was talking to somebody, and I'm like, it's so weird just sitting here listening to my voice and just listening to me talk while I'm looking at the camera. So this is where I have to get over it. I will get over it. So I'm going to push myself to do more episodes. Also, damn, I forgot to start the show off like this. Also, make sure you check out my other YouTube channel podcast with my co-host Still Biz, Thought Ops. Make sure you check out Thought Ops. Make sure you check out um, Healing Hyenas for clothing. I'm gonna put all that stuff in the description. Also, I just did I was a guest on a podcast with Miss Brittany on Beauty Told, and I am actually talking about me and relationships. Um, if you know me, if you watch Thought Ops, my tagline is, "Hey, you don't want to take no relationship advice from me. I am the last person you want to take, um, relationship advice from. But hey, I'm coming out my comfort zone, so." We was talking about relationship, had a good time. So that episode will be airing. I'll make sure y'all, uh, you know, get all that information when it airs. And should I say like, share, and subscribe? Because I watch a lot of YouTube channels. They always say that. And I don't want to be like, telling y'all like, share, and subscribe. Because I figure like if you like it, you're gonna like it. If you want to share it, you're gonna share it. And if you want to subscribe, you want to subscribe. So, I guess if you want to do that, hey, you're welcome to do it. So until next time, hopefully, y'all continue to have a wonderful life, wonderful time. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your family, and I'm out. Peace.
Think about it. First you born, then you live and die. So if tomorrow never comes, it comes at no surprise. Looking death into his eyes, yeah, I witness guys start to recognize, analyze their own demise. Some people wasting time, walking around hypnotized, blinded by success and breast, but can't identify what's real, what's fake because the money